Castle of Castle Does Subnautica. Now this is pretty much the day everything needed to be done. I had uh I had roughly 4 hours after we had done some talking and discussing what was going to be going on. I was like, all right, you got 4 hours, wrap this shit up. 4 fucking hours. This needs to be wrapped up so that we can get it to the playtesters and they can see. So, stress. Full fucking swing at this point. 4 fucking hours. 4 hours. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, alright. I have pretty much everything in place. I just have like maybe a couple more areas. And well, what this is looking at right now in the video, I haven't started the video yet, is an area that changed after I have left it, and I came back to look at it again, and there it is. You see how these boxes are actually floating in the air because the area changed significantly. And this is how you get floating items in games. Since there was another person working on... Why does this pop up if I'm not actually playing the video? Anyway, since one person's working on the level geometry and I'm working on all of the gameplay, I had to make sure that I revisit all the areas periodically as he's making changes. And there just ended up being some floating stuff. I missed some floating things. No! But it didn't really have terrible impact on the gameplay. But it drives me crazy because it always looks like something that's so easy to fix. But then, you know, it's like, what the hell, lazy level designer? How come you didn't fix it? So anyway, I go back and doing any kind of like final touches. I load up another area that's the grassy plateaus, and I'm doing more touch-ups and then sand sharks and making sure that this area is properly functioning. At this point in time, one of the things that's nice, and in the future Castle does things, I'll actually be able to show video footage of me like playing the game, because the game's out. So you'll probably actually get to see some like footage of me making changes and then actually playing the game, and I'll show you the changes. But that wasn't really something that I wanted to do before, because making public videos, not really recommended. I mean, but now it's cool because the game's out, and there are already people playing the game and everything like that. But at the time of making this video, I was doing a lot of playtesting and making sure that things felt right, and that they weren't going too crazy. And one of the things I noticed is that we have like schools of fish that spawn that are like super dense amounts of fish, and I was like spawning like crazy amount of them, so I had to like modify that. And then I had to keep track of that file because the CSV file wasn't just being modified by me. So all the changes that I was making while I was working on it, sometimes something else would get changed, and then I would end up having to like go back and be like, what was the change that was made? At one point, somebody renamed metal to metal 1. And all of a sudden I hear this complaint that there's no metal spawning in the world anymore, and I'm like, oh god, is this the cache problem? Is this the cache problem? Am I supposed to do, did something happen with the cache files again? Now I gotta go back and make sure I select everything and go into main, but it was really just because one of the files got renamed. So that ended up getting fixed, and I saw it, but I didn't realize that somebody else had modified the CSV already to fix the problem. But game design. So so I'm dealing with that right now, and I'm thinking, oh god, you know, I only have like so much more time left over, and this is right. Like, I just want to get as much done, because that's the goal of this right now. Isn't just to get these areas done. The ultimate goal right now is to get as much done as possible. So now I'm racing to just make sure I can get as much as possible. Ultimately, right now, I'm basically the arbiter of all spawn points and all loot points. I plan to coordinate with other designers, though, so I'll end up just being a lead on this. But right now, that's pretty much my role, and I didn't really have a long time in this to be in this position to be able to really solidify things. But that doesn't matter, because the thing is that whenever you're about to release a game, everything goes to hell anyway, because everybody's working on stuff at the same time. One of the funniest fucking things is watching source control have a shit fit because everybody checks in right before the final, and that means all the problems, because everybody checks their stuff in at the exact same time, and then it just turns into this like explosion, and hopefully the game is still running after that. And I know anybody who's ever worked at it knows that you have to have everything done by 6 o'clock, all right, and like everybody checks in at 5:50. Bam. Everything. And then after that, you really want to make sure that you have at least a couple hours to make sure that that mass check-in of insanity didn't completely and utterly break everything. But usually that's not what happens. What ends up usually happening is that's right before something super important, like the game gets packaged to be sent out, or it gets set up for playtest, or so you got like absolutely zero time to fixing anything if it pops up at that very moment. So the best description I've ever heard of game design is the working. It's like being in an airplane while people are working on it. That would be that's a thing that I heard Level Lord say to me one time a long time ago when I was working at Ritual. Was uh it's like being in an airplane while people are working on the airplane. You're in the air, somebody's putting a wing. Wait, what are you talking about? How are you even off the ground? There's no fucking wing. That's exactly what it's like. However, in this case, though, I have to say, wasn't things worked out really well. I was really surprised. Like usually in previous projects you have a mass check-in. Although I guess in most projects like this, I've had bigger teams. Come to think about it, the bigger the team. I mean, this is only what 20 people. 20 people makes sense. Like 20 people is enough, but that's only what like 4 artists, 3 programmers, like 4 level designers. That's actually not that insane. Um, but when you have 100 people on the team, or an untold number of people on the team, you can almost guarantee that the final day of work is just the game's going to be broken for a week. And I've seen that happen on bigger projects. The game is broken for a fucking week, like after the deadline was met, and they planned for it. They planned for it. That happens, just because of what I'm talking about. But we had an easier time. It actually worked out. So anyway, here I am populating around the. One of the things that bothered me about Kelp Forest is that the names for the loot spawns and stuff like that were too vague, and I'm gonna end up having to go back and redo all the loot spawns and creature spawns for Kelp Forest, and give them specific names, more specific. I want to have I'll rename 2 of them. Sparse Forest, Sunny Forest, and Dense Forest are going to be vegetation. So sparse vegetation, dense vegetation and light vegetation or something like that. Super uh, open, I guess I would describe that as having like very little vegetation or a specific kind, and then use those because those are specific. So if I see a bunch of grass, dense vegetation, like thick grass just filling up an entire area, I'll put dense vegetation in that spot. Right now it's not quite. I think these need a renaming. All of them do, but these feel like the weakest to me. So that'll be this week actually. I'll start doing that. Actually, when I have the ability to rename them, I'll be working on that. Yeah, things are getting close, and like my hip chat, see how it's blinking like that, non-stop. Every time it blinks like that, that means that somebody is sending a message. There were messages going back and forth. Beep 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 beep. You hear the sound beep 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 beep, and it's just like tone. And I have that on just in case somebody sends a message. But at this point in time, I didn't want to miss any messages, so I had it set up for giving me a sound cue every time something is said, because I didn't want to risk the possibility. But people are just going beep 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 beep, and it just keeps going. Like there was multiple things. Everybody's active at once. Everybody's doing all these things at once. I'm being told the stuff that's specific for me. Like I'm having to make sure that there wasn't like open spaces in the CSV file, and errors in the CSV file are causing something else to go wrong or something like that, and like having to do a check-in and make sure that everything's coordinating, and beep 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 beep, and it keeps going like right up to the last minute, which is pretty much what you're watching right now. This is it. Fucking drum roll. Getting loot spawns and the creature spawns and this is the very last area that I got to work on before the final playtest, which is in the upper northwest corner, outside of the original 4 batches for the player start, and that was it. And then I watched the source control go insane, and everything kind of like went to that, and then we went to the playtest, and it went really well. Like the playtest was like, wow, this is huge difference from the last time. They touched on it, like the creature spawns, and the world feels very much more alive. We knew like all the stuff that we'd been working on came together, and like the extra creature spawns actually combined with the schools of fish that had been combined with these things to those other things. Everything like bam right there came to a head, and the first build we ended up having to like go through a couple of different builds because the check-ins were still coming in for like a little while, and that's annoying. But yeah, it was like really insane. And the playtest ended up being an hour after that, and the playtest we were there for maybe 3 or 4 hours, just chatting while watching people play the game, and listening to what they are doing and talking about and everything like that. And it was like 3 hours went by, but it felt quick. Like it wasn't. It was like, wow, it's already been 3 hours, and then I went out and had a relaxing day after that. Like just kicked back after that. So yeah, as of right now, the game is out. Yeah. Whew. Sanity. So next, what happens next? More and more, the videos that are going to be coming out are going to be what happens after pre-release. Working on things, improving things, listening to feedback, actual feedback from players. Okay, thank you for watching. Oh, and check the game out if you haven't. Please check it out.